Welcome back to English Out Loud, the podcast where two friends just talk, and somehow you end up learning English.
That's honestly the best way to describe it. I'm Annie.
And I'm Jake. And today, before we get into the topic, I have a very important question for you, Annie.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you sleep well last night?
Ha! Why would you ask that? Do I look tired?
You look completely fine. But I asked because I did not sleep well at all.
Oh no. What happened?
Nothing happened. That is the problem. I just lay there for 2 hours. Totally quiet room, comfortable bed, and my brain just refused.
Oh, that's the worst kind of bad sleep. Nothing is wrong, but nothing works either.
Exactly. I kept looking at the clock. 12:30. 1:15. I was doing math about how many hours I still had left if I fell asleep right then.
Oh no. You did the sleep math.
I did the sleep math. And then I started worrying about being tired, which made me even more awake.
That is a very cruel loop.
It is extremely cruel. So yeah, that brought us to today's topic.
So today on English Out Loud, we are talking about sleep, or more specifically, why so many of us struggle to get it.
Yes, because I think most people have been there. You're tired all day, you finally get into bed, and then nothing.
Your body is ready, but your brain is not finished yet.
Exactly. And we are going to talk about why that happens, and also some things that can actually help.
And as always, while we talk, you will pick up some really useful everyday English expressions. Today's phrases are all about sleep, tiredness, and relaxing, but you can use them in many situations.
This is a B1 to B2 level episode, so if you do not catch every word, that is completely fine. Just listen, follow the conversation, and let the English come naturally.
And we have a vocabulary section at the end where we go over the key words and phrases together, so do not worry.
All right, let's talk about sleep, or the lack of it.
Okay, so Jake, last night you said you were just lying there for 2 hours. Were you tossing and turning the whole time?
Yes, I was definitely tossing and turning, moving to one side, then the other side, then on my back. Then I was too hot. Then the pillow felt wrong.
I know that feeling so well. You keep moving, hoping that a different position will somehow fix everything.
And it never does.
It never does. I think tossing and turning is one of the most relatable sleep experiences. Everyone has done it.
It is very relatable. And the weird thing is, the harder you try to sleep, the more wide awake you feel.
Yes, wide awake at midnight when you absolutely need to sleep.
And sometimes I am wide awake, and I do not even know why. There is no big worry. Nothing stressful happened. I just cannot turn my brain off.
That is so common. I think our brains treat bedtime like a free slot to think about everything.
Yes. Like, suddenly I am thinking about something embarrassing I said 3 years ago.
Oh no, the late-night brain replay is real.
It is very real and very unfair.
So, do you think it is mostly a mental thing, or is there a physical reason too?
I think it is both. Sometimes I am physically tired, but my mind is still going. Other times, maybe I had too much caffeine in the afternoon.
Oh, caffeine is a big one. A lot of people do not realize that coffee at 3 in the afternoon can still affect your sleep at midnight.
Yeah, I know this. But I still drink it.
Ha! Same. We know the rules, we just sometimes choose not to follow them.
And screens, right? I always end up on my phone right before bed.
Yes. The phone is the enemy of good sleep. You tell yourself just 5 minutes and then it is 45 minutes later and you are watching a video about how they make cheese.
That sounds extremely specific.
It was a very interesting video, in my defense.
I believe you. But yes, screens definitely do not help. There is something about the light, or maybe just the mental activity. Your brain stays switched on.
Right? And I think the other big one is stress, even small stress, like a busy week, a slightly awkward email you sent, something you need to do tomorrow.
Yes. The small stuff adds up, and your brain just keeps turning it over. You lie there and stare at the ceiling for what feels like hours.
To stare at the ceiling, I feel that deeply. When you are lying there, eyes open, just waiting to feel sleepy and it is not coming.
It is one of the loneliest feelings, actually. Like everyone else in the world is asleep and you are just there.
That is such an accurate description. Okay, so we know why it is hard to sleep. Let's talk about what actually helps.
Okay. So, what helps you unwind before bed, Annie?
Unwind is such a good word for this. It means to slowly let go of the tension and stress in your body and mind.
Yes. Like a rope that has been twisted all day, and you slowly let it loosen.
Exactly. For me, what really helps is keeping my evenings slow. Like after dinner, I try not to do anything work-related. No emails, no reading stressful things.
That is harder than it sounds.
It really is. But I notice that on nights when I do check my phone for work stuff right before bed, I always sleep worse.
Because your brain gets activated again.
Yes. It thinks it is still working time, so I try to give it a clear signal like, the day is done now. Usually that means some light reading or listening to something calm.
I have heard a lot of people say reading is the best way to fall asleep.
It really works for me. Physical book, not a screen. Something not too exciting. A few pages and I can feel my eyes getting heavy.
That is the dream. Literally. What about things like temperature or sound?
Oh, temperature is huge. I sleep so much better when the room is cool. Not cold, just slightly cool.
Yes, I have read that too. Our body temperature actually drops a little when we fall asleep, so a cooler room helps that process.
Exactly. And for sound, some people like complete silence, but I actually like a little background noise. Something soft and consistent.
White noise.
Sometimes. Or just a fan. Something that covers the random sounds that would otherwise wake me up.
That makes sense. I think the randomness is the thing that wakes you, like a sudden noise in the street. But a constant sound just becomes background.
Right? And what about you? What helps you drift off on nights when you actually manage it?
Good question. I think the biggest thing for me is not looking at my phone in bed. When I actually commit to that, I sleep so much faster.
So the thing you know helps but struggle to do.
Exactly. The phone is there and it is so easy to pick it up. But on nights when I leave it on the desk, I drift off in like 10 minutes. On nights when I'm scrolling, it is 2 hours.
That is such a clear experiment. You have the data.
I have the data. I just need to act on it.
Ha! A very human problem.
Very human. I also think having a consistent time to wake up helps more than people realize. Like, even on weekends, if I wake up at roughly the same time, I sleep better during the week.
Yes, the body likes rhythm. Once it knows when to expect to sleep and wake, it starts to prepare automatically.
And I have been trying something new recently. When I cannot sleep, instead of checking the time and doing the math, I just accept it. I tell myself, okay, I'm awake. That's fine. I'll just rest.
Oh, that is a really good mental shift, because the anxiety about not sleeping is often what keeps you awake.
Exactly. When I stop fighting it and just lie there comfortably, sometimes I drift off without even realizing it.
Because you stop trying so hard.
Exactly. Sleep is one of those things that comes more easily when you stop chasing it.
That is almost poetic, Jake.
Thank you. I'm very tired and it makes me philosophical.
Okay, I want to share something a little honest here.
Please do.
I went through a period a while back where I was sleeping really badly for like 2 or 3 weeks. Not dramatic, just never fully rested, always waking up at 4 in the morning.
4 in the morning is the worst wake-up time. Not early enough to just get up, Not late enough to go back to sleep easily?
Exactly, and at the time I thought it was just stress from work, but I later realized a big part of it was my phone habit. I had started keeping my phone on my bed, and I would check it first thing when I woke up.
Oh, so even in the middle of the night.
Yes, I would wake up, and my first instinct was to just reach over and check my phone. And of course, then I was seeing messages and things, and my brain just immediately started working.
And then you could not go back to sleep.
Right, so I tried something simple. I moved the phone to the other side of the room.
Such a simple fix.
Almost embarrassingly simple. But it worked. Within a few days, I was sleeping through to my alarm again.
The distance matters. When it is right next to you, the pull is so strong.
It really is. We do not even make a conscious choice. The hand just moves.
I have a different honest moment. A few years ago, I had a big presentation at work. I was nervous about it for days before. And the night before, I maybe slept 2 hours total.
Oh no.
And the thing is, the presentation was fine. It went completely fine. But I was so exhausted the whole day that I could not even feel happy about it.
That is such a frustrating experience. You did the hard thing, but you could not enjoy it.
Exactly. And I kept thinking, all that worry, and for what? It did not help me prepare better. It just took my sleep.
Worry is so rarely useful in that way. It feels active, but it does not actually do anything.
Right? And now, when I feel that pre-event nervousness building up at night, I try to notice it and just put it down. Like physically imagine setting the thought down.
That is a really interesting technique. Does it work?
Sometimes. Maybe 50% of the time. But 50% is better than 0.
Definitely. Okay, we should move to the vocab section. But I feel like this episode could also be called The Relatable Struggles of Jake's Sleep Life.
You know what? That is also a valid title.
Okay, let's slow down and look at the 5 key phrases from today's episode.
Yes. And remember, these are not just sleep words. You can use them in many everyday situations.
So our first phrase is toss and turn. When something is tossing and turning, it means moving restlessly, usually in bed, because sleep will not come. For example, I tossed and turned all night thinking about the interview. Or she tossed and turned until 3 in the morning before finally falling asleep.
Next up, wide awake. Wide awake describes that frustrating state when you feel 100% alert at a time when you should be sleeping. For example, I went to bed at 11, but I was still wide awake at 1 in the morning. Or the loud music from next door left her wide awake for hours.
Our third phrase is unwind. Unwind is a lovely word. It means to slowly release tension and let your body and mind relax. Think of tightly wound strings slowly loosening. For example, she liked to unwind in the evening with a cup of tea and a good book. Or, after a long week, he needed a quiet weekend to unwind.
Phrase number 4. Stare at the ceiling. This phrase paints a picture everyone recognizes. Lying in bed, eyes open, waiting for sleep that does not come. For example, he stared at the ceiling for an hour before his thoughts finally slowed down. Or, instead of sleeping, she was staring at the ceiling, replaying the argument in her head.
And our last phrase is drift off. Drift off is a very gentle phrase. It suggests falling asleep so smoothly you almost do not notice it happening, like floating away. For example, she drifted off while reading and woke up with the book still in her hands. Or the sound of rain helped him drift off after a stressful day.
Those were great phrases today, Annie. Very usable in real life.
They really are. And I hope this episode helped, whether you are learning English, looking for sleep tips, or just feeling seen because you also do the sleep math at 1 in the morning.
You are not alone. We are all staring at the ceiling together.
Ha! That is beautiful and also a little sad. All right, if you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a like, subscribe to English Out Loud, and share it with someone who always says they sleep fine, but also checks their phone at 2 in the morning.
We all know that person. Or we are that person. Okay, take care of yourselves, get some rest, and we will see you in the next one.
See you next time. Bye.